Welcome, everyone, to Code 4 Podcast. I am your co-host, Sal Gonzalez, in with my other co-host, Ryan Anderson. Don't call me Dale. And our guest today is going to be a Matthew Wilford, hails from California, a native of law enforcement in the military, has an extensive career through a 10-year span with a CID, and also has an amazing story about his travels across 40 states, 1,000-mile trips, motorcycle blowouts, and befriending a little raccoon named Bandit. Guys, before me here is Matthew Wilford. Go ahead and say hello to everybody.
How we doing? Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Glad to be here.
Of course. Of course. And then I'm going to pass this over right now to Ryan. Ryan is the connection point between myself and Matt, my new best friend. And Ryan has a little bit more details about him. Over to you now, Ryan.
Yeah. Hey. So, Matt, welcome. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you.
I know that we've tried to run this podcast before with you and I separately. Yeah. It's just been some technical issues to getting you on. But man, it's a pleasure to have you on. A little background on how Matt and I know each other. Matt and I served in CID together. We deployed together to Afghanistan. I'm going to tell an interesting story here. I don't think Matt is prepared for, but
let's go.
I remember one of the first times I met Matt is we were going to train up for deployment. We were in Fort Hood, Texas on some 30-day train up before we hit boots on ground in Afghanistan. I was a warrant officer at the time, so of course they put me in charge of a couple of these knuckleheads, and Matt was one of those knuckleheads. And but I remember walking, I had to go just disseminate some information or something. We were staying in barracks or something on Fort Hood, and so I knock on the door, and I forgot who you were with. I can see the kid's face, but I can't remember his name. Millard, yeah, Isaac, yep. So Isaac opens the door, and I'm just trying to put some information out to these guys, and Matt, he wasn't in the room, but he wanted to be part of the conversation. He's taking a shit, and he opens the door. And I'm like, oh, my God, bro. I'm like, up, really? Chief? And he's like, my bad, Chief. And he just pulls the towel over him. Like that made it any better. And I was like, you know what? I fucking love this dude.
That's like our Brian Avila that would pants himself all the way down when doing a UA. And if somebody wanted to watch, they're going to watch.
That's hilarious.
So we deployed together. Matt was always one of the go-to guys there, and Matt has always been very comfortable with himself. He's a natural and genuine fucking guy. It's without a doubt that I've always kept in touch with him, and he's done a lot lately that I've been paying attention to with his whole motorcycle journey. He has a very interesting story. I want him to tell it, but. Man, I'm grateful that you're on here. I love you, Matt, and again, I appreciate you being here, dude.
Matt,
yeah, welcome, Matt.
I'm pumped to be here.
Thank you so much for being here,
gentlemen. No,
Matt,
really
let me just start off by saying, I love your style more than anything else. The first thing that popped up was that mustache, that hat, the shirt, the cutoff sleeves, the tats, the smile. I have to say, I fucking love you already. You're my homie.
Likewise.
There's a bed in my house with your name on it anytime you're in Arizona.
Man, I appreciate that. Likewise. Yeah, and same, that Ryan and I kind of the same thing. We just hit it off right out of the gate, and again any friend of my friend is my friend, right? So no, I'm happy to be here. It's been a crazy journey, so yeah.
So what years did you guys actually meet?
We were in Hawaii together from 2010 to 13, but we deployed from Hawaii from 11 to 12. Right. I only got 2 years in Hawaii because a year of it was deployment. So.
Yeah, I think we overlapped. I left Hawaii in the middle of 2010, so I got, you had just got there and then processed and whatnot, and then I went to Lewis, and then again we ended up meeting up at Hood, and I was like, yes, it's always good when you deploy people, especially a CID. You know how it goes. They 1 and 2 ship people out from every base, and then you make a unit out of it. And luckily, CID is a small organization, so if you've been around it long enough, you pretty much know everybody in there, right?
Right.
Absolutely. So, Matt, when did you start your career in the military?
I joined in September of 2002. Sorry, guys, give me 1 second. My dog is giving us some background noise. I
Oh, no worries. I got
joined
a
in.
puppy too.
Yes, that's my best friend. In September of 2002, officially shipped off basic training in June of '03. As an MP, I got to Fort Benning later that year, and then go lay down, Bubba. Go lay down. Good boy. I got to Benning October of 2003, and by June of 2004, I interviewed for CID. I was in formation, and my platoon sergeant said, "Who's been in the Army at least 6 months?" I raised my hand. "Who's got a 270 or above PT score?" I raised my hand. "Who wants to interview for DST?" I tapped my buddy. I'm like, "What the heck is DST?" He's like, "Drug suppression team, bro. You get to wear civilian clothes, work undercover narcotics." And I was like, "I'll go," and I didn't know it, but I was interviewing with. They picked one person from every MP unit across Fort Benning, so there was like 10 guys there, and here I am, 18 years old, and they picked me for whatever reason. So it kind of changed my whole career trajectory. From then on, I was in investigations. I deployed to Baghdad as an MP, but as soon as I got back from Baghdad, I dropped my packet and got my gold badge and all of that. So.
And that's fantastic. That's awesome. So originally you're from California?
Yes, sir. Stockton. Good old Stockton. If you ever see it in the news, it's usually nothing good, but that's home sweet home for me.
That's awesome. So give us a little backstory about your upbringing. You're born and raised in Stockton, California, up until the point where
Yes,
you joined the military. What's in between?
Well, so really, I guess the important parts of my story is I was a young father. Not planned, obviously.
I was hoping you would comment on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is an important part of my life, right? I mean, I had my first daughter. I was 15. I had my second daughter at 18. Joined the Army at 17. My mom died at 16. I found her myself. So that's kind of like my story. Like
sorry to hear that.
kid, mom, thanks, man. But it's kind of put me on the path that I'm on now, right? I carried a lot of that stuff.
Sure.
I carried it into the military, losing my friends overseas, all the death and destruction you see as a CID agent, right? And I didn't realize that it was compounding all of that and kind of carrying a lot of momentum. And then that was part of the reason I got out. I always thought I was going to be a lifer, but if I'm being totally transparent, I was about to crack. It was a good thing I got out when I did. And I didn't handle any of that right. I did what most veterans do, and I went straight to the bottle. And now that I was out, I as soon as I got out, I started smoking weed, and you know what I mean, just kind of numbing, doing all the self-medicating things. And I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Sorry,
So
I lost my train of thought there.
No, dude.
No, you're good, dude.
Are you kidding me, man? Like, I got so many questions for you, man. Just
hit me, yeah. Yeah, please.
Obviously, so a kid at 15, that's got to be incredibly stressful. Like, first kid. I mean, you're still technically, in your adolescence. Going through your mind with that, it's like, and you said you lost your mom about a year later or 2 years later.
Yeah.
What's going through your head at the time of being such a young father? That's got to be it's got to be mind blowing. It's got to be a huge change. Just not only just having a kid, but having a kid at that age. I'm like, you have to get forced to grow up quick, right?
100%. Yeah, I did. I was totally forced to grow up fast. For me, I come from a broken home. My dad is still an addict. He still lives in Stockton. He's still homeless, right? God bless him. I love him. I just can't share space with him. But that essentially what that meant as soon as I knew I was going to be a father is I did not want my kids to grow up the way that I did, right? So that's why the military was like, well, let's go. Let's just make it happen. I never thought twice about it. The problem, and this is what I had to tell my kids, because I knew eventually I was going to have that talk with them about not having kids young. No, it doesn't mean I didn't want to have you, but when you're a young parent, you end up dragging your kids through all of your mistakes. I mean, we do that anyways, right? Yeah. But there's a certain level of maturity that I hadn't hit, and when you go through trauma at a young age, it kind of stunts your maturing. And I'm just being honest with, that's why I was so gung ho in the military and always thrill seeking and all of that, because I had a lot of pain that I was trying to run away from.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realize, and what I'm very grateful for now is having kids is a generational commitment, and I never thought about. Actually, I didn't even think about that. It was a Joe Rogan podcast with Jordan Peterson, and Jordan Peterson said that, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, dude. And I am a grandfather now. I've got a grandson and a granddaughter. I'm 40 years old. And I just think about how truly blessed I am if I can keep my health, that I can have multiple generations underneath me, right? So there's pros and cons. I think the cons were I made a lot of mistakes. I continue to learn as I get older. I'm just trying to learn my lessons quicker this time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying.
I don't. There's nothing that says. There's no like parent guidebook. Nothing that says, "Hey, you're this age, and by this age you have to know this, and this is what you have to teach." You got to figure it out along the way.
And I'm glad that you said that, Ryan, because that was going to be the next thing out of my mouth. Was there is no script on this, and you have to make it up as you go along sometimes. And sometimes you're not, you're dealt a certain hand in life, and you got to make it work for you. Like Joe Dirt says it best. Like, life's a garden, you got to dig it. You gotta dig it. That's right. And fucking A, like, you know what? Like, sometimes, like, I grew up in a very like physically like corrective. I'm not going to say abusive, like a physically corrective household, and so like most people will see that as trauma. And like, like looking back on it, I was a fucking hellion. Like, absolutely, I deserved everything that I got. But I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be here talking to you guys if I didn't go through all those trials. So like, just know, like 100%, like, dude, take no fault on that. Like, you're a human being, and there's no script on this at all. So fantastic that obviously that you're 40 and that you have a kid, you have a grandchild at 40. I mean, like, I'm almost 40 and I don't even have one kid yet. And I'm looking down at the pipeline being like, fuck, I'm going to be like 70 when I go to the graduation. And it's like, yeah. You
better pump one out soon.
But you got to experience bringing up a kid while you're still very agile, very like motivated. You're still able to be out there physically with them. Like you have a car that I'll never have.
Right on. Yeah. Thanks.
So Matt, what prompted you to go specifically into the Army versus all the other services out there?
It's funny.
Did you have family that served or anything?
Yes, sir. Yeah. No. All of my. I have a lot of my family that served. All of my uncles, my father, my grandfathers. Both of my grandfathers were in Vietnam. Actually, I have two grandfathers and a step grandfather, and so my step grandfather and my grandfather Vietnam. One of the other ones, he ended up missing it, luckily, because I think that put his life on a certain course. But then my uncles served. I had an uncle in the Navy, an uncle in the Marine Corps, and then my dad was in the Army. I considered all branches of service. All I knew is that I needed to join the military. If I really think back, I always wanted to be an Army Ranger. I think since I was 12 years old, I wanted to be an Army Ranger. But when it was time to enlist, I knew I wanted to do law enforcement, or at least I thought I wanted to do law enforcement when I got out. So I had gone to the Army recruiter, and they promised me everything in the world: duty station of choice, MOS of choice, and a school. And I was like, okay. I went to the Navy. They couldn't promise me anything. And I went to the Marine Corps, and he said, I'll promise you one thing, son, you'll be a Marine. And I was like, shit, it's not good enough. Hindsight, if I could do it all over again, I probably would have gone into the Marine Corps, because I did, while I was in the Army, especially towards the latter part of my enlistment, I realized that the Marine Corps had a pretty high standard, and I actually appreciated that about them. It was part of the Army was changing a lot, and but no, I'm really glad that I joined. They promised me that I would be an MP and that I would go to Fort Benning. I just wanted to know where I was going to be with my family. I didn't want them to send me someplace crazy. My wife at the time, or my daughter's mom, it was really important to her that we were somewhere stateside, and her family wanted to know where she was going to be. So those were some of the weighing factors of why I joined the Army. But to me personally, as long as I served, it didn't matter really what branch I was in. The Army just promised me.
Yeah,
things that
Matt
other
had
branches couldn't.
aspirations to be a command sergeant major as well.
Fuck yes, dude. I
Yeah,
fucking love
I
that.
was going to be
Matt.
the smudge of the Army.
Yeah, dude. Fucking A. Like, dude, already you and I are connecting on different fucking wavelengths, like so many of them. I wanted to join up to become a cop, and I too was pissed off at the standard that I walked into the Army. And I remember somebody passing by who was in Fort Leonard Wood, and it was a drill. I don't know if it was a DI, but they were there for MP school for the Marines as well, I think. And the guy looked at me and looked down on himself, and then he's like, the office was right next door. And I was like, fuck you, you motherfucker. And I remember I went to the Marines too, because that was my first fucking thing. I was like, I want to be a fucking Marine. And
Yeah.
they could not fucking promise me anything. Like, they could not promise me anything other than just being that Marine. So, like, already, like, I know your train of thought was, like, is I need to ensure success in what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be successful at this. And I need to be doing that. So, yeah, I understand, like, why you went. And definitely, I also understand that the standard was low. And I know that heartbreak, dude. I fucking know that heartbreak all too well.
Yeah, I've got some stories, man, about that, and I don't, no shade, but like when I was a brand new private, one of the first I made this SRT. I told you I got to Benning in October. The day after Christmas in 2003, they had SRT tryouts, and I was like, hell yeah, I want to be on the SWAT team, and I made the cut, and my platoon sergeant was the NCOIC, and we were at a qual range, a couple months later. And he goes, listen, Wolford, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you a couple extra magazines. I want you to shoot this target and that target when they pop up. I want to see what you got. And I was like, hell yeah, Sergeant, challenge accepted. And I fucking, expert on both. I hit both targets within the allotted
And
time. I
you
was
qualified for somebody else.
for a fucking staff sergeant. and at the time, I kind of shook it off. But the longer I was in the military and the more experiences I had where I got to see people kind of skirt underneath the standard, I realized, like, son of a bitch.
I had to do that.
It's just kind of, yeah.
I had to do that very same thing, not for SRT, but I had to do that very same thing in Korea. And I remember they were like, hey, because I was an expert in my rifle and fucking damn good too, iron sights. And they were like, hey, qualify for this. Qualify again. I was like, I already qualified. And they're like, no, qualify again, but this time make it what was it right below expert? Marksman?
Sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter.
Yeah.
They're like,
Sharpshooter, yeah.
make it sharpshooter. And I said, and they're like, and make it believable. And I was like, all right. And I just remember thinking, like, fuck, why are you doing this to me, like, right now? Like, fuck,
Yeah.
man. It's a fucking mind job, right, bro?
Yeah, it is. It is.
I mean, even in CID, we had agents that, like, because you're only supposed to have so many attempts to qualify. And people get out
Right.
there with their pistols, and they wouldn't put the time and the effort in, and it
Yeah.
came through. And somehow they would still miraculously be qualified at the end of the day. But it is what it is. So,
Yeah. What would say? I
And look,
digress.
yeah.
I legitimately don't remember the guy's name, but I went to ASAC or CID school with a guy who never passed his PT test the whole time we were there, and they pushed him through. He got his gold badge, and it irked me, on some core levels. And it's not shade. It's that I was always a believer in, like, there's that argument about, like, females in the military and females at war. And, like, I was on the SRT with a woman who could kick the shit out of me, right? So I don't care if you're a male or female. Be able to pick me up and push me over your shoulder and save my life if
Right.
if it's necessary, right? Like, none of that matters. Just be able to do your job, right? And also,
Yeah.
I'm a believer that you can truly do anything that you put your mind to, right? So, like, pass your PT test, learn how to shoot your weapon, like, whatever it is, right? It's not impossible. If that schmo can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So I don't know. That was some of
I love that
those were some of the things. Go ahead.
Ryan, I love that he said that, because it to me, it instills me right now, right off the bat, is how much you loved the military police corps and the Army. And I'm the same fucking way. Like, people will like, I fucking love it to this day. Like, it's who made me. It's who I am, and I fucking cherish it. I'll go to war with anybody that wants to talk shit. Like, and
Right on.
it's that love for it that hurt you.
Yeah.
You know, that standard was not being upheld because you were upholding the standard for yourself, and you had so much devotion dedicated to that. You know, I love it. Fucking A. What do you think,
Matt
Ryan?
was the reason
Yeah.
that I started running marathons.
Oh,
We started-
that's right. Huh?
Like I remember being in Bagram with Matt, and Matt was always working out, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna work out with this dude, and he kind of started me on pretty much CrossFit. I remember doing 100 burpee pull-ups with this dude, and I was
That's
smoked
right.
at the end of it. Yeah,
That's still my
And,
favorite
uh,
workout to this day. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here. I'm grabbing something. I want to show you.
No, you're good.
and then
Remember this?
We started running. Yep.
Oh shit! Look at that.
I still have. That's like
we,
one of the few things.
But we did the marathon there in Bagram, which sucked because it's like a 7-mile loop around Bagram, and you had to run it multiple times. And like with burn pits, you're talking diesel trucks going down the road, just blowing coal, and oh man,
Oh,
it
and
was-
that
it was
moon
miserable.
dust
Gravel
everywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, moon dust and gravel. You know, like it wasn't. But you know, I certainly filled my time with a lot of cardio. But that's what I always loved about you too, Ryan. You know, as far as it goes, you know, you were a leader, but you led from the front, man. And if I can, real quick, I'm just
Thank
I'm gonna digress a little bit, but that's why, you know, when I think it was before my trip or so when you and I reconnected this year, but I you know, your recent spiritual awakening and kind of coming to terms with some of the things that you were dealing with emotionally and trying to figure out why you were chasing the things you were chasing, and I appreciate that, right? You just had total honesty and transparency about like where you were, how happy you were, and why you were doing the things that you're doing, and you're trying to figure it out, man. And a lot of people act like they have it all together, and they do these things and they get the momentum, and they look back on their life and they realize they just wasted their whole life doing something they don't really love or really even want to do. And I just really like the fact that you took the time to really put it all out there, man. And that post that you made, you're like, I'm going to put this out once so I don't have to explain myself 100 times. This is what I'm going through and this is why I did it. I appreciate everybody, you know. And I was like, hell yeah, Ryan, fucking A.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
No,
So-
absolutely.
And then like so we talked a little bit about your military career, like I mean we could talk CID all day, but I kind of want to get into like you got out of the army in what, 2013
Technically, yeah. 13 was my ETS.
Okay.
I started terminal leave in November of 12. As soon as we came back from Afghanistan, I started out processing.
Oh shit! You guys were in Afghanistan in 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same time you were
12.
there.
11 and fucking. Oh man, we fucking.
We
shared
were
the same
all there.
fucking-
Yeah.
yeah, we
That's
shared the
awesome.
same fucking dirt out there. Yeah. Holy shit, dude.
Badass, man. Yeah, I was your evidence
That's
So-
consultant, bro.
fucking trippy. Hell, well, I wasn't
Wasn't
leaving
pumped
any
about
evidence
it, but
behind. Oh man, I fucking hated evidence custodians. I'm gonna fucking say that right now, like out loud. I fucking-
no, I did too,
The
man.
CID evidence, evidence custody property documents. Fuck it, you.
It was the worst.
They,
I
they've
wasn't,
since
you know what?
fixed
It was a
them.
blessing. They have. That's good.
Yeah, they
was
have.
kind of
They've changed them, made everything automated, and they got the little URL codes and
Those
stuff.
little
on them
scanners.
now,
Oh, you
so-
got scanners and
yeah.
stickers now. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
fucking
it's
nice.
we finally joined the current century. I say we like I'm still part of it, but I
Hey.
know what's going
You're
on.
always gonna be part of it, Ryan. It's
But,
always gonna be a
uh,
part
bro,
of
I'm
us.
just kidding.
Yeah. So,
It is.
but Matt,
No,
you
it's
got
part of
out
our
in
identity.
2013, and then so walk us through what life has been like for you since then.
Well, I think chaos is a good way to put it. But I got out, and like I said, you know, when I joined, I thought I wanted to be law enforcement, and then after doing CID for 9.5 years, I realized that I didn't really want to do law enforcement anymore. The criminal justice system had a bad taste in my mouth about it, and really, I have all the love and respect in the world for law enforcement, especially the last couple of years, the civilians, what they've been going through, you know, people ambushing them and stuff. It's like, holy smokes, I never had to deal with anything like that. But what I wanted to do when I got out, I realized that I wanted to do something that nobody could take it away from me, right? Like the culmination of my efforts were exactly that. So I got into the carpenters union. I learned how to build things. I wanted to work with my hands, do physical labor, and I did that for a few years until I got a calling from one of my buddies in North Dakota. I said, "Hey man, there's a bunch of money out here," and I said, "I'll be there in a week." So I chased money out to the Midwest, and I did that for a year, and then I came back and basically odds and end jobs. A lot of trade work. Underground utilities, equipment operator, anything in the trades until I found my way into the HVAC world, which was kind of the best kept secret. I didn't. My wife now, one of her best friends in the world, was in HVAC, and we were at this barbecue, and I'm looking around, and it's a really nice house, and everybody there has really nice cars, and I'm like, what do all these fuckers do? And she's like, heating and air, and I was
HVAC.
like, what? Yeah, I was like, that very next Monday, I went in and I went to that same company. I didn't tell them that I was going to go there. I just went in and interviewed, and I said, I want to be on your sales team. And they said, yeah, everybody does. Well, you can be an install helper. So I started at the bottom, and I worked my way all the way up to sales, install technician, service technician, all of that. And then that was the last thing. After I got into the sales world, it kind of changed everything, because once you start selling products for companies, you could pretty much go to any company and do that. And I did that for a few years, and I made a lot of money, but again, I hadn't dealt with any of my trauma. And if I'm being honest, that's what I'm here for. Is I blew my whole freaking life up. I lost everything. I lost my family. I lost my house. I lost my job. In a trailer now, rebuilding. Right, so that's been part of my path, is being really honest about why I am where I am and how I got here. And it was not dealing with the stuff that was really heavy on my heart, that weighed on my soul, and so now I'm on a different path. I've decided that I don't care about making a lot of money. I care about helping people and serving God. That this trip, and then we'll get into it, but I did this whole trip around the country, and at some point about 2 weeks in, I realized that I felt a calling. I felt a calling from God to try to share my message, to share my story, because I think that there are lessons there. And I'm just gonna say, 22 veterans a day are taking their lives, and I've almost been that guy at least a dozen times since I've been out. And that's real. I think everybody struggles with mental health, and that was another thing I learned on my trip. And we can I've got some stories, man, that just every single day, every single person I met, you would not believe the connection. I would just tell them briefly, like, oh yeah, I'm from California. I've been on the road X amount of days. I've gone this far. I'm just trying to spread some PTSD and suicide awareness. And literally 98% of the people I talked to had some kind of a personal connection. I was at a Starbucks and outside of Miami one morning. I'd been riding all night. I was exhausted. The sun finally came up. I was cold, and Starbucks was open, and I was like, yes, so I pulled off, and I had to wait in line, and I get up there, and I'm dog-ass tired. I had zero energy in me, but the barista, bro, she was on fire, and she's just chipper, and like, hi, how are you, and and I decided in that moment that I was going to return that in kind, and I was like, I'm great, how are you? I'm just out here trying to spread suicide and PTSD awareness. I'm riding my motorcycle all over the country. And right then, in that moment, she leaned over and she goes, I just tried to kill myself 3 months ago. And I was like,
holy shit.
Well, I'm glad
that connection needed to be made.
And she started to cry. And she goes, I stabbed myself. And I was like, holy shit, and I was like, can I give you a hug? And there's 15 people in line. We're outside of Miami. And I said, hold on, everybody. Yeah. We're going to have a human moment here. Just give us a second. And I gave her a big old hug. And that,
I fucking love you, man.
Oh, fuck, man.
Bro,
that is...
If you can save one person's life, you know what I'm saying? So it's very rewarding for me. And I love you guys too, man. Thank you. I mean, yeah. I want to cry right now just talking about this stuff because it's so real. It's so raw,
It's amazing that you were put in that place and you had to go through your trials to get there, and then ride in the rain and feel a certain way, and then you get there, and then you're met with this person that is putting on also a mask. You're dealing with your trauma, and then she's she's masking it, but you know, she confides in you, says, "Hey, like I'm going through it too." Fuck, man, like the universe works in mysterious ways.
You responded more or less with joy, and that
Yeah.
was a hard lesson for me. Like I remember there was a time when I was going through a breakup, man, and it was a very rough fucking time, and my mom is like, just choose joy, and I was like, I don't understand how to do that. You know what I mean? Like, how can I be happy right now? She's like, it's not your joy. I was like, okay, I got you. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Elaborate
no, I
on
think
that, Ryan. What do you mean by it's not your joy?
It's his joy, not ours. Like it's like the gospel doesn't say that there aren't going to be trials and tribulations. You know what I mean? So we're going to go through rough times in our life and so on and so forth. But we have to trust Him, and that like leaning in and trusting is something very, very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Holy
Yes.
shit, dude.
I think a
And
big
now we're
part
getting
of
deep.
that,
Here we go.
if I can comment on that, I think that a big lesson that I've learned, and we can talk. I went to this horse program out in Montana, and it was epic. It changed my life, and I learned a lot there. But one thing that I think about and that I apply to every aspect of my life currently is pain and resistance equals suffering, and when I learned that, it fucking rocked my boat, dude, because I realized how how I've been resisting my pain my entire life. I've been trying to avoid it, not thinking about finding my mom dead, not thinking about my buddies getting killed and me not being able to say, like, all of the shit, you know. And every time the thought comes up, I try to compartmentalize because I don't want to feel the pain. And my lessons have been to feel it, but the choice is to take your lessons from it too, and to find your gratitude from it, right? Like I'm so grateful for all of the pain that I've been through, because it has made me who I am, and the fact that I can still continue to choose joy and to choose God, and to ask Him to allow me to serve Him every day. And literally, these are my prayers. I don't ask for things. I ask for protection, and I ask for Him to allow me to serve Him every single day, wherever that takes me. And it's the crazy part is where my days take me. The people that I end up meeting, and I'm just like, thank you.
Whoa.
You know, I gotta believe I'm on the path, right?
Yeah.
But no, I think there's a lot. I love what you just said. It's not yours, it's His joy, and to not take the pain so personal, right? It's part of life. Shit's gonna happen, and you just have to keep rolling with it and figure out why it happened. If you have some accountability to take, then do so, right? But stop running from it all. That's been my biggest thing. It's changed my life. It's changed everything about everything. Even currently, you know, current dilemmas. I'm sober now. I'm 13 days completely sober, and I'll never use a substance ever again in my life, right? It's not a temporary thing. I've decided, like, I've spent the last 25 plus years numbing myself. I want to see what the next 25 look like without anything, you know, just me, my heart, serving. Yeah.
Be present. Fucking love it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So you got into your motorcycle journey briefly there. So like what more or less what prompted that, and what led you to, like, you made a big decision. I'm gonna go across the entire continental United States on two wheels. Like what led you there?
Okay, well, I have to give you a little backstory. So essentially, my grandfather passed away, right? So I was going to a funeral. I had to lay my grandfather to rest on Flag Day this year, June 14th in West Virginia. And my marriage was a bit rocky. We're figuring things out now, right? Relationships are difficult, especially when you're with a veteran. I own it, man. I'm the asshole in this, and I've made a lot of mistakes. And but we weren't doing well at the time, and it came down. I was making my cousin to text me. He goes, "Hey, this is the hotel we're all staying at. Call him right now and make the reservation." And this was like the beginning of May. And I said, all right. So I called it, and this gentleman answered the phone. And nicest guy you'll ever meet in West Virginia. His name's Kevin. It's hilarious. He goes, well, Matt, are you driving out or are you flying out? And in that fucking moment, I said, you know, Kevin, I might ride my Harley out there. And then I started like, that was it. That's when the idea was birthed, and I started kind of looking at it logistically and was like, well, if I leave in the beginning of June, maybe I can go see some Army buddies along the way. And that's exactly what I did. So I went from here in Northern California down to San Diego, spent a couple of days with one of my buddies who's a former SEAL team guy. And then from San Diego, booked it across all the way to Alabama. I got to see 1, 2, 3, 4 different guys that I served with while I was in the Army, which was probably one of the best things for my heart and soul, right? To share space with those people, to share tears, and to drink a couple of beers, right? And just meet their families and to see where they're at. And it was very interesting to me because to me, my marriage is fucking up in the air. My life's a mess. Let me get on my Harley and ride. And every single one of those men told me how envious they were of my situation. And I'm looking at their houses and their families and their careers. And I'm like, huh? You're envious of me? They're like, bro, you're living the fucking dream, man. You're riding your Harley across the country. And I was like, I mean, it's pretty fun, but anyhow, so I go from NorCal to SoCal to Alabama, and I made it up to West Virginia for the funeral. And I got pushed out of West Virginia, and I was sitting in Yorktown at the Yorktown pub, which is one of the coolest places. I mean, pirates were hanging out there back in the day. And I met these kids. They were in their 20s, and they sat next to me at the bar, and I was sitting there by myself. If you've been in the military, you can go to any bar and you're totally fine by yourself, or at least I'm comfortable, And they sat down, they joined me, we started cracking up, and after a while, I'm like, are you guys on vacation, or like, what are y'all doing here? And they're like, oh man, we're in the Coast Guard. And I was like, you guys are living the fucking dream, dude. Yeah, but one of those kids was like, dude, you need to start a YouTube. Like, what you're doing is really cool, man. And I was like, nah. And I brushed it off for like 48 hours, and I thought about it. So now I'm going to backtrack. Earlier this year, I wrote a book. It's actually right here. I'm in the middle of editing it. It's called Thriving Through Trauma.
I was about to ask if it's
I was
published.
going to say, I was going to go buy it right now on Amazon. Let's go.
Oh man, I appreciate. Look, I will be. Hopefully, if I can get everything together, it'll be on Amazon next month. I'm going to do the. They have I think it's called Kindle Direct Publishing. Yeah, and they make it really easy. So if I can get all my ducks in a row.
It's the best way to go about it. That way, you just keep an entire publishing house out of your
right.
path. Otherwise, it just gets convoluted with what needs to be written and stuff. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of horror stories about people who put all their time and heart and energy and soul into something, and then they've made 10% of the profits, right? And it's not about the money, but like kind of, I'm a man of principle, and I don't want somebody else to get rich off my thoughts.
Story.
You know what I mean? Right. Exactly.
It's your story. You went through the trials, so you need to be paid for it, especially if you're going to be sharing yourself like that. Yeah.
100%. But so I had my spine fused together in January, and I almost died on the operating table, which ended up being. It's interesting to me. I still, when I try to unpack it, that fucked me up. Waking up in ICU, then telling me that they nicked the artery in my spine. I almost bled out. Took them 3 hours to get. I had blood transfusions and all this shit. And I realized I almost died again. And that's. It was like 9 weeks of the worst pain of my life. I can't. No amount of narcotics numbed it. When I think about, I literally crying and just setting in pain, and I realized I started making connections about how badly I wanted to avoid the physical pain and how badly I had been avoiding my mental and emotional and spiritual pain. And I was like, oh my God, dude, I think I figured some shit out. So I just started writing. Maybe it was my therapy. And about halfway through, I had some momentum and I was feeling really good about it. But then my ego kicked in, the devil, if you will, and was just trying to talk me out of it. Like saying things like, nobody cares about your story, Matt. Who's going to fucking read this? You're not a writer, all of these thoughts. And then I had one resounding thought that just was my driving force. And it was if one person reads it and doesn't take their own life, then like that's it. That's it. I put my whole shit on blast. And if I save one life, because I know more than anybody, I say that humbly, how important one life can mean to somebody. And obviously I'm talking about my mother, right? But losing her, and for a good portion of my life, we thought it was a suicide. Only recently did we find out that she got fentanyl mixed in. She was doing some hard stuff, and there was fentanyl in it. And this is in 2001, right? Like nobody even heard of fentanyl back then, right? So
No.
Right.
anyhow, I understood kind of how much I carried that pain, and how that it had affected me, and how that impacted my life. And I just realized, like, if I can keep somebody from doing it, or moreover help somebody process their trauma so that they can show up better for themselves and the people that are counting on them, then I've impacted the world in some kind of a way. So fast forward, sitting in Yorktown, this kid's like, start a YouTube. I'm like, fuck that. And then 48 hours later, I realized, like, all these kids are on YouTube. Like, I don't use YouTube. Like, I'm not or I didn't, I don't go on there to look
You
if
do
I
now.
need to learn how to.
You do now,
I
yeah.
do now. I do now. But at the time I didn't. But I realized, like, hey man, this might be a better way to reach people. I remember reading somewhere, if you want to hide something, put it in a book. Like it's only there for people with eyes to see. So I decided to use that platform and to lean into it. And I'm still, if I'm being totally transparent, I don't know what I'm doing there. I'm just kind of putting my stuff out there. If you go to my YouTube, there's a bunch of videos of me sitting and talking and crying and just kind of being vulnerable because I'm working through my shit, and
They're
and
really
anyhow,
great videos.
Thanks,
I'm gonna
man.
fucking go
I
on
do
there and
appreciate
watch
that.
them all, like 100%. Like,
Thanks, dude.
you know how much that means
You'll
to me,
see.
Ryan, and Matt, is that I have all these inner demons that I can't deal with, and the only way to get them out is to speak about them, right? But
Yeah.
I hold a position in society that I can't speak
Right.
to let them out. Otherwise, it's compromising my, it's compromising my way of life, and it sucks because I look forward to the day that I am out of these
Free.
shackles and free, and I'm gonna get on the rooftop and shout it out like as loud as I possibly can.
Yeah, that's
So thank you,
That's
thank you for thank you for having the strength to do it, and thank you for being who you are of 100%. Like, fuck, man, I'm that you said your friends are like envious of you. Like, man, the freedom, like you're living the life. Like, I always talk about John Grabowitz, right, from CID. He's always talking about the 95.5, and it's like people always complain, and they're always complaining about the 5% they don't have, and they're forgetting about the 95% they do have.
That's
you
right.
know? And I think
Yeah.
that's one of those situations where it just embodies that idea that your friends are looking at you and saying, like, I wish I had that 5%, and you're like, I only have this 5% right now, and I want that 95.
100%,
But
man.
it's
That's a great way to put
perspective. It's perspective, right? But I think you're on, like you said, a spiritual journey, and I think your mission here, I think your purpose here is to tell that so that we can learn from it and hopefully stop other people from going down that route. But again, you wouldn't be able to tell this story and influence like the way you're gonna, because I truly believe you're gonna influence people in a positive manner. But that lesson wouldn't be there if you didn't exist. So I appreciate it 100%.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm honestly, I love Ryan, and we, like he said, we tried to do this before, but then I watched you guys, man, and I'm like, I like this Sal guy. I want to share space with him. So I am truly honored to be here with you guys, man. Yeah. This is fucking cool.
I
So
have my-
we have
Sal
to
is
take
one of those
turns.
genuine human, I like to surround myself with genuine human beings, and both you and Sal are those guys, and Sal has a lot of guys that are just like that as well, and those are the people that we want on the podcast. Those are the people we want to share space with. And dude, I remember I followed your journey like all the way through YouTube creation to you started putting TikTok reels and stuff out there. You kind of learned the whole creative space while you're on this journey, which is kind of neat to watch because your videos got better and better.
Thanks, man.
And two, I also want to say for any viewers watching right now, Matt's sharing some real deep and disturbing stuff, like where finding his mom, his grandfather passing, so on and so forth. And I was kind of watching myself on screen for a minute because I was watching Sal, and Sal's face is just in utter shock, and I'm just sitting here nodding, and I'm like, I should tell the viewers I've heard this before. I'm not, so I don't want them to think I'm insensitive to Matt.
No, not at all. Yeah. No, that's fair. It's I think we all have the trauma, and that's one of the big themes in my book, man. Is I truly believe we're all shaped by trauma or micro traumas, you know. And I think you kind of spoke to this earlier, Sal, without realizing it, but like your upbringing and having a little bit more physically, being physically disciplined, right? But there is a certain level of trauma that accompanies that has shaped you to be the man you are.
Oh,
and for
absolutely.
some people, that causes their numbing and their self-medicating and they're turning inward and causes them to be kind of trauma responders throughout their life. And then for some, you know, they turn into bodybuilders or Tom Brady's or Michael Jordan's, right? But I do believe that those guys all share a certain level of trauma as well. I haven't quite figured out like what it is, but I can guarantee it, dude, that if those guys were interviewed and they talked about their upbringing, there's going to be some shit in there that shaped them, that made them and turn it into
with
a
100%
fire in their belly, you know? Yeah.
If they're being 100% transparent, I'm with you on that. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's man, I can't even fucking talk right now because I'm just so fucking baffled right now. Like, dude,
Right, so-
you hit me on a fucking level right now where I started going through some of my trauma with being like, what am I not fucking doing?
I told you this is going to be a good podcast.
God damn. Sorry.
That's awesome. This is great.
100%.
This is real though, man. This is what,
100%.
you know, this is the stuff that men don't talk about. This is the shit that we don't get to have that kind of a space. And I would have never found myself in this space unless I walked my road. You know, I had to get arrested a few times. I had to really face some hard truths, and that was that I had a lot of shit that I needed to deal with, that I was really fucking angry, you know. And the big connection, if I could just get straight to the point, you know, you guys know this, we all have three primary responses to stimuli: fight, flight, freeze, right? We've heard this, we know this as interrogators, you know. However, veterans, the military has spent a tremendous amount of R&D and money ensuring that we negate the other two primary responses and we respond with aggression. And that was my shit. So I had all this trauma that I hadn't dealt with, and I was a raw nerve, man, and I was just looking for a reason to explode. Or even if I didn't realize I was looking for a reason, I would just off the handle. I could go from 0 to 100 real fast, and it's scary. It scared me. I needed to make some changes, you know, and I know that I'm not the only one, and there's a whole new generation of Joes out there that are coming back from some really horrible situations that are going to have a lot of shit to deal with too, you know. So I just know that I don't have any other path in this world than to try to help guys like us and gals, you know. I don't mean to be gender, it's just I say that because men
I use the word guys all the time.
Yeah, and I do mean that openly, as far as, you know, guys and gals. I was raised in the 90s, you know. Have you guys heard that yet from any of these young whippersnappers? I had somebody tell me a couple months ago, wait, you were born in the 1900s? And I was like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I was born in the wait, hold on, fuck, I'm old, you know.
Ryan was born in the disco era. Fucking disco baby.
Still in the 70s.
I had Billy Idol playing behind me as I was coming through that life tunnel. But you had fucking Kool and the Gang playing in the background, motherfucker.
Don't be hating.
We are not the same, Ryan. Nah, just kidding. But yeah, getting back to what you were saying, and trauma processing, right? I think one of the successors for me, and I don't even think it's a success. I think it was a coping mechanism that I've kind of discovered, and maybe I'm self-blaming when I do this, but I look at problems like I do like an engineer, right? Because like as far as like IQ goes, like I'm textbook stupid when it comes to like you know, math, science, and things like that. Actually, not even science, but just like math and like equations and shit like that. Like, but geometry, fantastic. Like, so I'm a mechanic, an engineer at heart, at the brain. I can look at something and I'll tell you exactly how it's going to work and where it's going to flaw. And I look at the action reaction theory, right? For every action, there's a reaction. And I've always looked at, ever since kind of coming to be aware of why things are happening to me and only me, and being that woe is me, and thinking to myself like, okay, if this is a reaction, what was my action? Like, what caused this? And like, I started to look back and saying, like, okay, I did all this to myself. And that's the way I process everything. Like, I look at things and I'm like, okay, well, what caused this? I didn't cause this one. Like, this one was somebody else's doing, but I usually do it that way. And maybe that helped me, but I don't even know if that's help. I don't even know if that's a mask without diving further into the psyche that is me, I guess, you know?
Sure.
But fantastic
No, I
for
hear
you. Like, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's a coping mechanism, and I don't know if I'm just kind of deferring that away and locking it away and just saying, well, just put the blame on me when it's not. But I think that you do have to take some level of responsibility for your own actions, you know, and I think you have,
Sure.
of course, and coming to the light. But you said something about being in an accident where your spine had to be fused. What exactly, like, what happened, if you don't mind me asking?
No, not at all. I broke my back in Iraq, and I didn't know it.
Okay.
And I know that sounds funny, but I was doing combatives, and one of my Joes, and we were actually just farting around in the motor pool, you know, killing time. So it was like it's all my fault. But I had somebody else in a rear choke, and he came up behind me and he grabbed me by my forehead. He put his knee in the center of my spine and pulled back, and everything in my back freaking cracked. And I got up, and I was a sergeant, he was a specialist, and I almost decked him. And I was like, what the fuck, you know? And my back hasn't been the same since. I never went to sick call. I just toughed it out. You know, I ended up doing things to like make myself more comfortable, but I was 20 years old, right? So I was full of piss and vinegar, and I don't feel pain, you know. Fast forward, I broke my hand in 2018, and I got an x-ray, and they asked me, they were looking at the x-rays, and they're like, oh yeah, your hand looks good. And something about it, they did a chest x-ray because I was going to have surgery, and they asked me, by the way, when did you fracture your spine? Like, when did this accident happen? And I was like, son of a bitch, I knew it. You know, I've been saying for years that I had back problems. You know what I'm saying? But because I didn't have a sick call slip or anything, like I've been fighting the VA since I got out. My life was kind of a mess when I first got out, and I had all of my initial VA appointments set up in Reno, and I had ended up leaving Nevada, came back to California, and I thought that I could just reschedule those appointments. Well, that set me on the chase of having to fight the VA pretty much until this year. So let me stay on point here. So my back was messed up. With my messed up spine, essentially what happened is between L4 and L5, don't mind the broken hand, my discs, my L4 and L5 were stacked on top of each other, and L4 was slipped 60% forward. So all of those nerves, and that's the pain I've been having, the sciatica pain and all this stuff for like ever since I got out. Anyhow, so with that injury, I still went to Montana to do a horse bro.
He's got Jesus on his side.
You know what I'm saying? I really, so I went to this horse program, even with a broken back, knowing that I was a little bit fragile, but I just had to be careful. And wouldn't you know it, I'm pushing cattle in Wyoming, and my horse saw barbed wire on the ground that I didn't. It was rolled up next to the fence, and everybody says, and what everybody thinks is that the horse thought it was a snake or something, because what happened was I was trying to go to the right, and the horse was like, and I gave him a little spur, and he's like, and I gave him a little more spur, and then he jumped and went to his left, and I flew into the air at least 5 feet off, and I just remember looking at the clouds going, well, this isn't good, and I landed on a nice pointy rock right on my kidney, and and that sucked. And it was funny because the head cowboy who was the boss, you know, the cow boss, he's like, are you good? And I immediately jumped to my feet, and then I went and took a knee again. And I'm like, He goes, take your time. I took another minute, got up, got back in the saddle. And he goes, are you good? I said, I'm hurt. I don't think I'm injured. And he goes, I'm guessing that being in the Army is a lot like being a cowboy. Nobody gives a shit.
Fuck yeah.
And I was like, Roger that. He goes, you ready? And I said, let's go. So I pushed cattle for 2.5 hours. Every fucking step was painful. And one of the guys I was in the class with was a PJ. He's still active duty PJ now. He actually just started the first canine pararescue team in America. It's really cool. Anyhow.
Hey, that's awesome.
He goes, let me check you out, bro. And he's just feeling my back and my spine. He goes, I don't feel any broken bones, but everywhere he touched me was excruciating pain. And I guess something similar had happened the year before, and the next day the guy woke up and he had punctured a lung, he had internal bleeding, and they had to rush him to the ER. So everybody's like, why don't we just go make sure you don't have any internal bleeding? So I go to the ER in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and they go, well, we have some good news. You don't have any... Oh, there goes my light. Sorry, guys. You don't have any internal bleeding, but I think that thing's about to die. That sucks. Give me just 1 second, fellers. But you fractured 2 more vertebrae in your spine. And I'm like, all right. So the silver lining was, because I was service connected at the time, that the VA covered all of my ER visits, right? So
100%.
the ER visit segued into me needing a spinal fusion. I was able to roll that in and came back here to California, they got me in. So that kind of like got me taken care of. So I had to go through 2 different incidents before I was able to get my spine squared away. But now, brother, I am sorry, guys. I got to get this thing plugged in. Now I am good to go. It's kind of crazy when I think about how much I had to go through and like I can't see shit. Sorry. To kind of get where I'm at. Like I couldn't. My life before that surgery, I could not walk more than 20 feet without being in excruciating pain, having to stop and try to stretch because of how the injury was and the compression on my spinal cord. I was constantly trying to make adjustments to keep myself comfortable. I couldn't run anymore, right? Brian talked about how I love running. You know, I've run I think 5 marathons in my life, and if anything else, I just know that I need to get out, at least do a mile every now and again, right? Like I ran a mile this morning, and I'm like so glad I did that, you know. But yeah, my quality of life is just drastically changed by having that surgery. I almost had to die, you know, but I haven't thought about that, you know, the whole sequence of events. It led me to writing that book.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how life sends you through paths, and it's like the more you fight it, the more like you keep hitting roadblocks almost, because you're supposed to go do something, and like there's like intervention that's saying like, no, you still haven't gotten it. Like you still haven't gotten it. Like here's another roadblock, right. And you just like turn around and look at the light and say, hey, where do you need me? Right. 100%. Like where?
Amen.
Matt, was this when you were doing stuff with Horses for Heroes?
Yes.
Or is this different?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that was Heroes and Horses there in Montana. Yeah, that's a great organization, and you guys, if you can do it, and you know, it's cool, man. You don't have to know anything about horses. They teach you how to cowboy. You know, it's just. I still have to go back because I didn't get to finish it. I went there this summer on my road trip. I went back there and I got to share space with my class leader, he's a return class leader. You know, that guy, he went through the program 41 days, and then he's gone back 2 years in a row, 41 days to subject himself to no sugar, no caffeine, wholesome, you know, all organic diet, cold plunging, no electronics, social media, you know what I mean? Just so he can lead more veterans to the light.
That sounds absolutely amazing.
It is.
I don't know about the cold plunge part, but the rest of it sounds good.
But brother, pain and resistance equals suffering.
I've done cold plunges. And, I suffered through them, but you know,
out of the ground. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know. No, you're good, brother. Fuck. You got me on everything, and I probably would do it, Ryan. I probably would, you know, but I had to learn that don't move in the cold water because there's like a thermocline around you that warms you. But if you fucking move more, it's just worse.
Well,
my
they make
dumbass
you, you
keeps
know,
moving.
that's what they're like. All right, everybody, get your arms, and you got to grab the water, and you hit your pits with it, and you throw your face, and it's funny because I had waited, you know, thousands of people apply for this every year, and they pick 32 guys, you know, and I got fucking again, I got very lucky. They picked me, you know, and the first 2 days, there's 12 of us in this big ass cold plunge. The water comes out of the ground there at 37 degrees. So it's way colder than anything because I had been kind of trying to prepare myself.
Man.
Wasn't even close to being ready. And the first 2 days,
That's beer
I'm
bucket
the only
cold.
one. Dude, I was shivering, convulsing, having all these issues. And I just remember thinking like, well, I think it was on that second day. Sorry, guys. I'm having some.
Oh, you're good.
That I think it was either the first or the second day. That was the mantra for the day was pain and resistance equals suffering, and I realized this was my fucking idea. There's no place on earth I would rather be than right here in this freezing ass cold water, and it was like a flip switched. I sat there stoic as a fucking statue, you know, just complete like everybody else, and it was a game changer, and like being able to apply that gradually as time has gone on, I've realized how that shows up or how I can use that mantra in just about every aspect of my life. Even if you're facing life throws you a curveball, right? The obstacle is the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I don't want this to be happening to me. Well, it's happening to you, so deal with it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
Have you
know.
have
Yeah.
you ever seen any of the David Goggins stuff where he talks about like chosen suffering? Because he
haven't.
talks about like fitness in general. Like the guy, he's like anybody can train for like a marathon or a special event. It's easy to put a plan together to like, hey, I'm you know what, I want to do this bodybuilding competition, or hey, I want to run this marathon, and they have an end state. They have a goal that they're working
Yeah,
towards.
a means
It's
to an
easy
end.
to work towards a goal, but it's the people that take on certain daily activities and with no end state in mind. That's just they elect to have that chosen suffering in their life,
Right.
and it makes them stronger mentally and physically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I did hear Joe Rogan was talking about this. I keep talking about Joe Rogan, but sometimes that guy says stuff and it fucking resonates with me. And he was talking about there's an area of the brain that they're studying right now. Anytime you make yourself do something that you don't want to do, and he referenced cold plunging or taking a cold shower, he said, any amount of time you spend in that space makes that area of the brain grow exponentially. And what scientists are discovering is that's the area of the brain where willpower comes from. And I was like, huh.
Interesting.
So, you know, when you choose discomfort over comfort and you allow yourself to set in the discomfort, you're strengthening your ability, your willpower, right? And I found that to be, it helps me.
If that's the truth, we're the smartest motherfuckers in the world because all the suffering that we put ourselves through.
Well, yeah, I mean, once you realize that, you can start
with
to,
the military. You know, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a ton of sense. I like that.
I think I'm gonna take a cold shower in the morning.
Yeah, sure.
I
I'll
do
join
it every
you, right?
time, and not the whole time. I promise you guys, if you start doing it at the end of your shower, just the last 30 seconds, try to get 30
You know, I do
seconds,
that.
try to work your way up to a minute. You do? That's great, man. It's
Yeah.
good for you. It's good for your, they're doing
So-
all kinds of studies.
So
I just
are
saw
you
there's
really
a new
doing that, or are
study.
you
No,
running out of hot
no.
water?
No. My fucking water's hot out here. I'll tell you what. I'm unlimited on cold water, so I jump in there to during the summer months. I'm like, give me the cold water. And then it's only the length of the house is of the distance of the cold water that I get. You know, if that makes sense. You know, like
yeah, I understand.
before I reach the water that's on the outside. But
Yeah.
no, you know, I used to do that in Korea, and every now and then, because in Korea it was like super humid, right? So like you want to just get into the coldest fucking shower as possible to cool yourself down. And it was really weird because I do it now on purpose, and I had this I don't know if it's L'Oreal Men's, but it was like a blue gel, a face wash that I used at the time. And anytime I feel nostalgic, or I want to feel like feeling the feelings and put myself back there and feel the feelings of the happiness that I had in Korea, is like I'll take a cold shower and then wash my face with that and then immerse myself in those feelings in it. Sometimes I start tearing up. It's really fucking weird.
Do you cry over a face wash, dude?
No. It's like the memories. It's like a, you know, like a certain smell of a perfume will make you think of an ex, and you're
okay.
like, Jesus, like Britney Spears. Damn, you know, like you
Yeah.
you know, it's like fuck. Those were good memories or whatever, you know, like. But like, I'll wash myself with that special wash, and then like I'll sit there in like cold water, and I'm like I'm back in Korea, like I'm back there, and it's just fantastic. I love that.
I just let music take me back. I don't need to.
No, dude. What is it? Olfactial? Is it olfactial or something like that? I think they call it like the senses of the nose or something like that. But anyways, strong memories get, you know, just like smelling cumin. I'm in Afghanistan. Like I smell cumin. I'm like, fuck, I'm back there again.
No,
Weird
it's
shit.
interesting that you talk.
All right,
to
so
that.
I'm gonna bring us.
Sidebars over.
I'm going to
go ahead.
sidebar real quick. I speak to this in my book, right? Because there's just a quick connection that I want to make for everybody, for you guys, and for anybody who's watching, is that I call it time traveling. And in my book, when I was a kid, we had honeysuckle outside of our front door, and anytime I smell honeysuckle, dude, I am transported to 1993. I'm 8 years old, and I'm walking in my house, right? And I feel like I am in that body, right? Well, believe it or not, it is the same thing with trauma. And what happens is when we go through trauma, it is burned into our body physiologically. So anytime a vet has a flashback or some kind of a trauma response, physiologically your body is exactly where it was. So if it was at war, boom, and that's how we show up with so much energy and so much aggression, and that's why it's there. That was a huge piece for me to understand that, like, the energy that I have is alive and real. However, it is not this moment. It is not this situation. I am drawing from a memory, you know, from the past, right? But my body doesn't know that. My brain doesn't know that. And to my body and my brain, I'm right there in that fucking moment again. So that's a big thing. And I had to do years and years of counseling. I did a 2-year PTSD group, and then anger management, and then all these other classes before I was able to, like, aha, this is why it's happening. This is how I'm showing up the way I am. Why all of it, like, my little brother was an infantry guy. He went to Afghanistan. Like, when we first got out of the military, we got out around the same time. You put us in a room together. We were the loudest guys. We had all the, you know what I mean? And if we got fired up, it was a lot, you know, and sometimes the self-awareness isn't there because you don't even realize that you're not really there. You're somewhere else. You know, you're responding to a traumatic event that happened to you in the past, and I just think that those are dots worth connecting. You know, however that applies to your life, just understand that smell response is the same thing with trauma. When we experience trauma, it's like time traveling, you know.
Kind of makes me want to go smell some shit.
Yeah.
See where it takes me.
Yeah, one of my tick in Afghanistan, and I never really talk about this to anybody. That's not worth sharing it with. But even on here, I probably won't ever share it. But cumin was in the background of that roadway where I was at, and so every time I smell cumin, I'm like, fuck, like I'm like you said, teleported right back to there. And it's so weird.
Yeah.
Like I've stopped cooking with it because of it.
Yeah, that's
It's fucking
understandable.
crazy.
It's real.
Sorry, sidebar.
No, I think this is kind of important stuff too, you know.
So Matt, I'll try to bring us back where we left off.
Okay.
You traveled up to West Virginia. That was your
Yes.
grandfather's funeral, correct?
Florida, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no,
West Virginia.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, like, yeah. So I remember part of your story was that you got to give your grandfather the final ride on a Harley. So you want to talk us
man.
through that part too?
Thank you for reminding me. You're right, man. That was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I didn't realize how much. So my grandfather was all three of my grandfathers are just amazing men, men amongst men. But Keith Wolford, my biological grandfather, he rode his Harley. He had a group. He's a retired doctor. He was a doctor for 30 years, a surgeon, retired, and he and his buddies, his little riding gang, they called themselves the Rumbling Farts. They rode 37,000 miles over 3 months.
Ooh, damn.
All around the country, into Canada, all the way across Canada, anyhow. So he had kind of inspired, I just knew like if Granddaddy could do it, I can do it. So that was like, I'll just ride out there. When I got there, I didn't realize how kind of cool that was going to be. And my whole entire family and all of my grandfather's friends, and when they were giving, at the service, they talked about me, like, and Keith's grandson rode his Harley out here from California. Keith would just love that, and I was like, that's fucking cool, like, yeah, I bet he would love that, right? And then my family asked me if I would put his ashes in my saddlebags and go from where we had the funeral service to the cemetery, which was just a few mile ride. And I did, and it was on that ride. Oh, I'm gonna get emotional. It was on that ride that I realized that I was giving, like, he gave me my first Harley ride, and I got to give him his last, and I lost my cookies. I just sobbed that whole ride, and
I'd have been crying through my
one of the most, dude, I was. So thank God, that's why I got a tinted visor, man. Nobody can see me crying. But it was one of the most healing things I had ever done for myself, and it was by happenstance, like the whole situation was just random, but it was exactly what I needed, and it was subsequent to that I ended up in Yorktown, and then I was prompted to start the YouTube. So like I started to kind of like everything started to get a little bit of momentum, but what I realized is the more I cried and the more I started to heal, is that as I started to release that pain, that it opened up room for joy in my heart that I had never experienced before. It gave me the ability to share joy with that barista, right? Because I had room for it now. I wasn't so angry. I didn't have so much fucking pain anymore because I felt it. I processed it. And to just real quick to circle back to you, Sal, I did learn this in one of my mini group sessions. Is that us men, we stay out of our heart and we stay in our heads when we process pain a lot of the times, and sometimes you just have to let your heart feel it, and that doesn't mean you have to do it publicly, brother, but at your own pace, at your own pace and distance, fucking, when you're ready, man, just lock yourself in a room and just fucking let that shit, dude, feel it all. I know you don't want to, but that's where all of my healing has been. It's completely changed how I show up, how I'm able to respond to situations with compassion as opposed to aggression. It's given me room to have compassion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so Matt, like when he was following the funeral service, and he started the YouTube. I remember watching the first few videos he put up, and Matt went old school. He had one of those green notebooks, and he started journaling, right? And I remember like seeing him flip through pages. Like he was journaling every single day.
I had that. I got two.
So
yeah, steno pads.
So did you find journaling helpful, like to collect your thoughts and all that good stuff?
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Was it therapeutic, or did you just use it as kind of did you use it to process anything, or were you just kind of taking notes along the journey, or were you using it to just kind of a reference whenever you decided to just do this emotional dump on YouTube, pretty much, and like share your feelings and talk about your healing journey?
Genuinely, all of the above. It's having those notebooks. I knew at some point along the way I started writing the stories. I just started kind of writing about my journaling experiences, and then total transparency, I'm really bad at remembering names unless I try. And that's what I realized. My whole life I've just kind of written it off like, oh, I'm really horrible with names. But I'm not. I have a fucking phenomenal memory if I try. I mean, as a CID agent doing interrogations, I was a steel trap. I could remember everything. I just have to apply myself. But I was meeting so many phenomenal people that's a lot of that in the book are like folks that I met and the stories that we shared or the experiences that I had, because I know at some point that I'm either going to write an additional book or I'm going to add my motorcycle journey into the Thriving Through Trauma. I do think it's an important piece of the puzzle. I'm just trying to work that out, but just being able to keep track of everything and the folks that I've met, as well as compiling thoughts. I mean, there's a lot to be said for writing things down, especially if you don't have the ability to talk or you don't have somebody to talk to. At least getting that energy out, into thought format on paper is a good release. It's a good, healthy way I found for me to handle or to deal with some of the shit that's heavy for me.
You should write it.
You try to keep track. Go ahead.
You should call it riding on two wheels with the writing.
Yeah,
the word writing on it.
Yeah, I'm still trying to come up with a cool. ChatGPT recommended "Ride Through the Darkness," and I was like, that's kind of cool, but it's ChatGPT. I don't know I haven't decided what I'm gonna. Yeah, no, I'm open to all suggestions, man. For me, if the information gets out there, that's what I want. I want folks to be able to hear this and to go like, oh yeah, I see what this guy's saying, and no, I totally resonate with that. And,
well, people, the truth is addicting. The truth is super addicting, and then it's so hard to find it unfiltered.
Yeah. Facts. So I remember watching your videos, and Matt, I like even watching you cry on there, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I sat in my living room, I'm like, fuck, I'm crying with Matt. It was amazing. I'm trying to go through some of the notes now, just because I want to capture some of the actual journey part of it. 18,000 miles in 10 weeks, right? How did you plan that? Like, how did you build the logistics of it? And we talked about this before. Like, I'm not good at traveling. When it comes to packing, I overpack. I'm like, I have commitment issues, like pants, shoes. I could pack a suitcase today, and if I'm not going anywhere for a couple of days, by tomorrow I'm changing my mind. I'm repacking that suitcase. How did you figure out logistically, like what you wanted to take with you, where you were going to stop, how you were going to make this journey come to fruition?
Sure. No, that's a great question. Well, being a military guy, the first couple things on my packing list were like first aid kit and tools, right? And then my sleep system. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to make sure that like I always had what I needed in an emergency situation. So a way to keep warm. I always had water with me. Logistically, as far as planning my route, before I left to the East Coast, I went state by state and made sure that I could find that the route that I took had a gas station every 100 miles. That was my deal, is like I can go 100 miles at a time, gas station to gas station. My bike will do 250 on a tank, but I don't want to ride for 250 miles straight. It's a lot. I want to be able to pull off and stretch my legs or whatever, right? So that was kind of part of my planning. But then once I got to West Virginia, it was day by day. I didn't make any commitments other than like when I was leaving Virginia, I decided I was going to go. I have a big back piece, and I don't know why, but I thought it would be cool to like visit some lighthouses and then maybe take a picture with my back piece in front of a lighthouse, because my artist is from the East Coast and his tattoo shop was Lighthouse Tattoo. So like it's literally that simple of a thought that inspired me to, well, maybe I'll just go down to Key West. I'd been to Key West one other time, and I was like, fuck it, I'll ride my
Those
Harley
pictures
down.
are on Instagram for anybody curious.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm working on compiling some. I've got a lot of footage I need to put together, but yeah, my Instagram has got a lot of that stuff. And then once I got to Key West, I was like, well, maybe I'll go up to. I've been to the furthest, the most southern lighthouse in the United States. At mile 1 or mile 0 in Key West. Maybe I'll ride up the East Coast, the Eastern Seaboard, and go to the furthest northern lighthouse. So that's what I did. So I got to Maine and to the Goody Lighthouse. I'm having a brain fart right now.
God, I bet Maine was beautiful.
Oh, Maine was so cool, dude.
Swamp
The most
Monster, man.
badass road I've ever ridden on my motorcycle is Route 9 from Bangor, Maine, towards that lighthouse. So going east, and I was doing. Hopefully, I don't get in trouble for this. I was doing sweeping turns on my street glide at 110 miles an hour. It was epic. It was just me. The road was 50 yards wide. So each shoulder had a 20, like a at least 20 feet, because it was designed for semis to be able to pull off. And then they'd cleared another 50 foot of forest. So in my head, I could see any obstacle, like any deer or whatever, anything pop out, right?
With no rumble strips.
And no rumble strips and all this stuff. And I was like, well, let's see what this mofo can do. And it was cool, man.
Scraping
I got to open
floorboards.
her up. Dude, it was awesome. You know, now I'm like, I got really lucky because holy shit. But yeah, Maine was beautiful. And then I thought that when I got there that I was like, because somewhere along, I think I was at a gas station in New Hampshire, and somebody was like, oh, you doing the Four Corners? And I was like, what's that? They're like, well, you said you went to San Diego and Key West, right? And now you're going to the lighthouse in Maine. Are you going to go up to Madawaska? And I'm like, what's No, I don't. I thought
They fucking
and
sent
they
you
were
on a
like-
Forrest Gump trip.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I guess I am doing it. You know. So I
Fucking
went up
Forrest
to
Gump.
Madawaska. I rode another 5 hours north to the furthest the most northern point in the United States outside of Alaska, and then from there boogied across. I made it. I stopped in Milwaukee for the Harley Homecoming. I met some really incredible people there. That was a crazy experience. I'd been trying for like, I think 3 weeks to get tickets for the Homecoming, and I couldn't. And I called. I ended up calling the box office one day, and they couldn't even. They're like, we don't do any over the phone transactions, sir. Don't worry though, just show up here and you'll be able to get a ticket at the gate. And I was like, oh, all right, sweet. Well, I showed up there, and they're like, yeah, no, tickets are sold out. Sorry about your luck. And I told the lady at the gate my sob story, and she didn't give a shit. And, you know, God bless her, she's just doing her job, right? So here I am, completely defeated. I literally rode from Niagara Falls to Milwaukee, because I was like, I got to get to the Homecoming, right? So I just 1,000 miles or some shit. And then I couldn't get in, and I was like, what do I do? I seriously wanted to cry. And I went up to this, I had this moment where I was like, don't be an asshole. Just go talk to somebody else, Matt. You know, don't go talk to that lady again. Go talk to somebody else. And excuse me one second, finally. So I go up to this other gate, and I tell them my story, and they hand me this. They gave me a crew pass. They just gave it to me. They said, "Come on in,"
That's
and
awesome.
I cried. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" You know. So like that
that's
experience
fantastic.
was like, I was like, "Thank you, God." You know, like it's just kind of cool, right? And then I made it to. Ended up going through Sturgis because I wanted to see Sturgis just because I was in South Dakota anyhow. Sioux Falls is where I met Bandit, the raccoon.
Yeah.
But from
Oh
Sioux
yeah,
Falls,
let's
I
talk
went to
about Bandit
Sturgis.
for a minute.
All right, yeah, all right. Yeah, Bandit
So
was
tell
cool,
us about
man.
Bandit, huh?
So a friend of mine, her family had somehow taken in a raccoon. I think, you know, mom was killed. They found the baby, you know, and they literally like bottle fed it, so it was raised by humans. And when I met Bandit, I think he was 3 or 4 months old, and he was so cool. He was like a mix between a cat and a dog, except more feisty. You know, like it was just kind of neat. But he was all over me, and I've got a picture on my Instagram. He's hanging out on my shoulder, and I thought really, because my friend actually, she was kind of fed up with Bandit. She loved him, but she's like, he's a raccoon. He's shitting all over my house, like, you know. And she's
Yeah.
like, you want to take him? And I was like, yeah, you know. But
Zip him up in your vest.
dude.
His little head popping
literally,
up.
I saw a video like within a week of me leaving Sioux Falls of somebody riding a Harley with a raccoon on their back, and I was like, get out of here, you know. So people do it, but the same reason I didn't take my dog on the trip is like if something happened and then that animal got hurt,
Yeah.
I'd just be that asshole. You know what I'm saying? Totally a selfish thing to do. So I opted
Yeah.
out, but I really wanted to bring Bandit with me. I I hope that little sucker's doing well. I don't know if they still have them or not. I should check in actually.
Raccoons are resilient, man.
That is awesome.
That's badass.
So where'd you go after Sturgis?
So Sturgis, I was there like a week and a half or so before the rally started, and I went from Sturgis to Washington State, and I can't even remember the name of the town. They're the most northern city in Washington, and then bombed down the coast back to California. But as I was crossing all those northern states in between, I started. Now let me just back up. I had that whole trip. I did not. I rode with one person in Massachusetts. His bike's name was Ruby. He had a 135 kit on it. I didn't know that, and he walked on me. We were having a little fun, and he just blew my socks off. And I'm like, let me meet you, bro. What's your name? And but he was the only guy I got to ride with. I didn't see any motorcycles. I was literally the lone wolf. I have lone wolf on my vest because I lone wolfed it all over the country. But as I was making my way towards Washington, I was seeing hundreds of bikes going towards South Dakota, and I started to get some FOMO. So I got back to California. I had people taking care of my dog. I had somebody taking care of my horse. So I had to get those. I had to get them squared away, and then I was able to find somebody who was like, "No, I'll take care of your dog and your horse for you if you want to go back to Sturgis." And I was like, "All right, I'm doing it." So I doubled back for Sturgis for the rally.
Oh yeah.
No.
And it was cool. Yeah. Yeah. So it was. I think by the time I finished the trip, it was
Damn, that is wild.
a little over 14,000 miles, and then by the time I got back from Sturgis again, I had hit 18, and I was like, "Holy smokes!" So. That was my 10 weeks. All
so,
four corners
like you
of the
said, you
US,
didn't get a
and then-
chance to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you said you didn't get a chance to ride with anybody, but I think, man, I think it was God's intended purpose for you to be alone the duration of that entire trip.
1,000%. I'd never spent that much time in my own head, and for a good portion of that trip, there was no music. I'm a big believer in if you're trying to process your feelings, turn the fucking radio off, sit with your thoughts. If you can sit alone with your thoughts. It's not comfortable, but there's progress to be made there, and that was very healing for me as well. I think you're right, Ryan. Thank you for saying that. I do believe you're right. That was part of the path. That was part of my path. A little bit of isolation so I can figure out who I am and what's important to me, and to figure out what I've been running from and what am I doing here? Do you know? Without any real distractions. So that was an important piece.
Yeah, I remember when I first started riding, dude. Like I like every once in a while now I have speakers in my helmet, but I don't listen to it that often anymore. I like being out on two wheels, and I like the ambiance. I like the wind noise, the sound of the motorcycle. But I had a lot of conversations with God on two wheels. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sometimes I was yelling in my helmet. So.
Oh yeah. Oh man, well, at the time I was honestly trying to let go. I was trying to mourn the loss of my marriage. I in my heart I hit this point where I felt like we were at an impasse, and I knew that I needed to honor that loss, and I cried, man. Because I love my wife dearly. She is my best friend, and I'm so grateful that she still wants anything. I left for 10 fucking weeks and didn't say a word to her. I filed the divorce paperwork. We were fighting, and we agreed that we were done. I fucking filed the paperwork, and I took off. I blocked her. I was like, this is what I need to do for me. It wasn't easy. I almost turned around 3 times in California. I kind of speak to that on my YouTube. Like, I almost didn't take this trip. I almost talked myself out of it, went back and bought a plane ticket and tried to work things out with her. But like, no, I needed to go and to do that. And yeah, rage crying and rage screaming into my helmet in the middle of nowhere, just me on the highway, was a big part of, at least initially, of my journey. Was kind of like honoring what I was feeling. And it wasn't pretty. It was painful, but now I'm just like, I have nothing but gratitude, you know, because that it set me up to, again, to be where I'm at, to understand how lucky I am to have this person in my life, even though life isn't perfect, and it's, you know, it's supposed to be messy, and if you have somebody that wants to to go through the mess with you, then that's a fucking blessing, you know. And I've always known that, like,
Yeah.
that I loved her and that we shared something, but there was a lot of toxicity that really, if I'm being honest, came from me, that I needed to figure out before we could, you know, share space again. So, yeah.
But now things are looking better.
Oh yeah, yeah, a lot better. I mean, and again, it's
Great.
me. You know, she's still exactly who she's always been. Um, how we handle, you know, we're both learning how to handle our problems differently, and also to come together when we face problems instead of being opposing forces, right? I think that was part of the problem, but again, that was part of my mindset. And I think as I unpack it more and more as days go by, even currently, um, my family dynamic was so messed up that I didn't understand the value of family, or the importance of really hunkering down when shit gets tough and not running for the hills. But my history and the momentum and kind of the muscle memory or the trauma response was to isolate, to push people away. I've been down this road before. It's just gonna fucking end badly. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I didn't realize that I had a real one, you know, a real one in my corner who is still all about me, even all of the bullshit that I've put her through. You know, tonight, part of my delay getting on this podcast was going to a football game, and as my wife was dropping me off here with my stepson in the back, I'm crying, and I just told them both, I apologized to them, and I said, I'm so sorry that I fucked our lives up. I fucking blew our lives up. I'm so sorry that we're not going home together right now, but I'll fix it. I'm fixing it, you know? So to have, my life isn't pretty, you know, but I'm healthy. I'm healthier than I've ever been. So now it's rebuilding with all of that stuff in line. I built a life on a shaky foundation. I had a house of cards, and I guess that's what my TikToks and my YouTubes, I mean, that's what I'm speaking to. Is like, I understand what it's like to be a headstrong man, to be a headstrong veteran, and I understand, I write about this in my book, that it's, you know, when somebody is shaped by their trauma, it's like they've earned their stripes, right? So who the fuck are you to tell me that what I'm feeling isn't real or valid, right? But even though I might be in a trauma response, like, I earned this. I know this is part of who I am because of what I've been through. Who are you to tell, you know? And now I'm realizing, like, no, that's not how it goes. You know, you got to feel the trauma, and then you have to keep an open mind and an open heart and ready to receive joy. And so that's just, I'm just trying to kind of operate in that space and get that message out there. I don't have everything figured out, but I understand trauma on some very core levels, and yeah, that's kind of that's where I'm.
Man, I
hanging
know
out
you
these
said that
days.
your life isn't pretty right now, but I'll tell you, I think your life is absolutely beautiful, and I think you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now.
Thanks, brother. I do have faith in that. Yes, I do know that I'm exactly where the good Lord wants me to be. Even, you know, we haven't talked about, we can kind of get, you know, but I just broke my wrist last month. I high-sided on my bike, and my arm was the first thing to hit the ground, but I have the videos up, and if you go watch them, man, I miss an oak tree a foot and a half to my right, and I
Saw
go
that,
head first
yeah.
into an oak tree a foot and a half to the left, and I hit a metal sign. Instead, I landed right in between them on a pile of leaves, and the only thing I broke was my wrist. My spine, you know, I just had the spine fused together. I'm not 100% there, and you know, I didn't break my back again. Like, and I can only say, or I can only assume that God has me here, has kept me here for a reason, and that I am
For a reason.
exactly where I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, as long as I stay on His path, you know, continue to try to serve serve him in whatever fashion is suitable for that day, or wherever my days take me. I just know that that's the energy I'm carrying with me. So it's been very rewarding, and thank you for saying that, Ryan. I appreciate that.
So you made reference to your recent motorcycle accident. Like you had another motorcycle accident in the middle of your journey. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, no, I want everybody to think I'm just out here being an asshole. I've 18,000 miles very safely. Even doing 110, it was mitigated risks. I understood where I was at, and that was the time to do it. But I usually am a very safe rider, and the accident I had was in North Carolina. Now, what had happened was you had asked me about packing, so part of my packing, I like you have a hard time committing to what I'm going to be wearing, so I put a trunk on the back of my Harley, and I filled that with clothes, and then I found myself at every Harley shop I went to, I was buying a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or a hat or whatever. So by the time I got to the East Coast, my trunk was full, and in my head, because I'm a veteran, I'm like, if it fits, it's coming with me. I can roll this up super tight and get all these clothes in here. What I didn't understand was was that I had overloaded the rear of my motorcycle, that there is a 20-pound limit for that trunk, and that because the weight was displaced so far to the rear of the motorcycle, and I had so much weight towards the back, that it had caused my rear tire to wear out way faster than I realized. And I am a check my equipment every day kind of guy. Did not see anything bad happening with that tire. And I get on the freeway, I'm leaving Asheville. I made it about 30 minutes outside of Asheville, and as I'm getting ready to pass, I'm coming up on a semi, and I'm about 20 yards behind him, and I start catching some of his wind turbulence. So when in doubt, throttle out. So I start to speed up, and as I'm speeding up, my right handlebar is about an inch closer to me than my left. I can feel it, and I'm like, what the fuck? But I just thought it was like the weird wind turbulence. Like I thought maybe I was catching a little side draft or something. So I increased the throttle even more, because I'm like, I want to get away from this semi. And as I got neck and neck with him, my right handlebar was 6 inches closer. No exaggeration. A solid 6 inches. And I was like, oh, I didn't know what the hell was going on, but I knew it wasn't good. I knew that much. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I thought that something in my steering, like with the handlebars, I'd lost a bolt or like whatever, dude. But I was like, this is bad. And I looked at my speedometer, and I was doing 85. And I was like, fuck. So I had one option, and because I didn't feel like I had solid control, especially since everything was kind of pulling to the right, all I could do was increase the throttle just a little bit more, and I bombed straight over in front of this semi. And I swear I missed his front bumper by a foot. I mean, and he laid on his horn. He just thought I was the biggest asshole in the world. As I get past him, he's a foot away from me on the left. That semi goes blowing by me, and I'm like, holy shit. But it was the least of my concerns, because now I just completely let off the throttle, and the slower I got, the more loose my ass end got. And then I think once I slowed down to about 15 or 20 miles an hour, it just completely, I was going 3 to 4 feet to the right and left, and I just dumped her into the grass. I never hit the ground. My left hand, I still have the gloves. My left palm scuffed the asphalt, and I landed in grass, and I was I don't even remember ever hitting the ground. And I'm taking my helmet off, and I'm ticked off. The thoughts that were going through my head, A, like, what the F just happened? B, like, my whole trip is ruined, like I'm in North Carolina, right? But in that very moment, I didn't realize somebody had pulled off. His name is Dave. And Dave says, "Are you all right?" And I realized that I was. And I was like, I looked up, I had my necklace on, and I was like, yeah, Dave, I am all right, brother. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me that. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking A, dude. It could have been so much worse. And then I go and I inspect my bike, and I realize it was just a blown tire, that my bike was completely fine. the North Carolina Highway Patrol. Blake is his name. He pulled off. He came and he called me a tow truck, and he's a veteran, and he's following my YouTube. Man, it was just like
That's
this whole
awesome.
crazy experience. They got me back to the Harley shop, and I was back on the road in a few hours, and I had redistributed the weight around my motorcycle. So making sure you do your load out correctly, especially if you're doing extended miles, is important. And that was something I didn't know. It was just a lesson learned on the road. You know, I had no idea that I had caused that, because my front tire was practically brand new. Essentially, they told me it's because I was riding like all the weight on the ass, and my my front tire was barely touching the ground. But yeah, so then the other lesson learned, just if I can fast forward, when I made it back to California and doubled back for Sturgis, I left my trunk here, and I took one pair of jeans and 2 t-shirts, and I just knew when I got to South Dakota, I was going to go buy some t-shirts anyways. I think I was a nasty mofo, and I wore those same pair of jeans all 10 days I was in Sturgis. I didn't give a shit, you know what I mean? But like, like that was like, now I know like to pack light, and just to make sure you have tools. Like having tools if you have an issue on the road. That's important. Having a first aid kit, I would say those are crucial parts of your pack out. But don't worry about bringing clothes. You're gonna get to a Harley shop, and they're gonna have some cool sweatshirt you want anyways, or a jacket or whatever. You know what I mean? That was my like, oh well, don't really need to bring everything. It'll be fine.
So how many Harley shops did you hit along the way? Because
I think 240.
nice.
Jesus.
So
Yeah,
how does
it was pretty
it
cool.
work in the Harley app as check in? Like you just check in? Does that give you points or anything like that, or what does
Yeah.
it do for you?
It was actually, what's kind of neat is I think it's ended. Well, I don't know. What they were doing this summer was every check-in you get X amount of points, and then once you accumulate so many points, you get $5 off, right? So I had at one point 100 and when I wrecked my Harley, I broke my trunk, and so I had to buy a new trunk at the Asheville Harley, and I used all of the points that I accumulated to buy that new trunk, right? So like it kind of paid for itself. But yeah, like you get credit for checking in, and then I did the Let's Ride challenge, and I ended up putting 20,000 miles on that. So Harley had donated, for every mile you go, they donate $1. So thanks to me, they donated $20,000 towards veteran stuff, but accumulatively, I think the whole nation, we did over $1 million in donations from Harley because of the Let's Ride challenge. And then they also throw you in the hat. I think I'm in the running for a brand new Road Glide because I had the tiers,
that's awesome.
like they, so
I hope you
that'd
get
be
it.
cool. But I do too, man. That'd be sweet. But my bike's a 2010. I'm totally happy with her. One of these days I'll get a new one, but I'm not in a rush for it.
Dude, that's awesome. So, like, do you like everything that you experienced on this trip, on that journey? Do you think it's something that you would do again?
Absolutely. I would do it differently. I don't think I need 10 weeks. I don't need to I had repeated I'd driven a majority of the eastern seaboard twice. Like I went from Alabama to West Virginia to Key West and then back up to Maine. Like I wouldn't do that again. But a long-term goal that I have is to set something up to make that ride that I just did, the Four Corners ride, a veterans ride, to have veterans ready for me to pick them up at every Harley shop in every major city. They can join in with me and then follow me, kind of like Forrest Gump in it, right? But like literally to have
Forrest
a group
Gump
of
in it.
guys that want to do that, and we could just do the Four Corners maybe over like a 3-week period. I think that's about how long it would take, maybe a month, I don't know. But yeah, I would love to do that again. I would love to be able to take my wife, but there's risks when you have a passenger. If I would have went down in North Carolina with somebody on the back,
Yeah.
who's to say that she wouldn't have gotten fucked up, right? So even this most recent wreck that I had, it was like that happened so fast that it scares me to think about putting anybody on the back. You know what I mean? There are things that happen that are out of your control, but I digress.
Yeah. Hey, Road Warrior Foundation, I'm going to tag you in the snippet of this that we're going to create from that. Maybe we can make that happen in the future.
I'd love that. Yeah, man. That's that'd
I'm
be
just
super cool.
I'm just fucking in awe right now. I'm just staying fucking quiet right now and just listening because holy shit. Sorry if I'm
No,
staying
you're
over here
great,
just
man.
fucking silent, bro. But I'm just taking it all in. Like holy.
So
Oh,
Matt, that kind of wraps up your motorcycle journey. Like your
Yeah.
most recent journey was a journey of sobriety. I'd like for you to talk about that a little bit.
All right, I'd love to. Thanks. Thanks for giving me that space. Yeah, I've been sober before, and it was one time it was court ordered, one time it wasn't, but both times I knew in my heart and in my mind that they were temporary, that I just had to take a little break, kind of get my shit together, and then it was kind of right back to um, getting high or drinking, and 13 days ago, my mother passed away November 12th. So November 12th is always a hard day for me, and I think it was November 9th that I decided I was going to go sober, knowing that I was having a very difficult day come up for me, that it was on the horizon. But I just woke up one morning, man, and I was just done. I was done being on the hook for something. I was done not being in control of my emotions. I was done feeling lost. I was done, I was just done with it. So I decided, like, look, man, my problem personally is if I smoke in the morning, I feel compelled to smoke all day, right? And because I'm not working or whatever, and they've
Yeah,
got
I
these
gotcha.
damn weed pens, they're so convenient to just sit there and get loaded all day. So I just had to make it through that first morning. I made it to lunchtime, and I've been home free ever since. I'm on day 13 now. I also cut pornography out of my life. That was inspired by a man who kind of set an example on TikTok. He did 30 days, no scrolling, no porn, no drinking, no smoking, just total sobriety kind of a deal. And I had I had already been on my sober kick, and I was like, well, I might as well just clean all areas of my life up. So now I'm walking this line, and I just feel empowered, and I've made it public, not for recognition or for a pat on the back. I don't expect anybody to even give a shit that I'm sober, but to hold myself
For
accountable,
accountability.
right? So yeah, man, I put myself out there and I say I'm going to make a video every day, and then damn well I better do it. And I also I made the promise that if I fall off, that I would speak to that publicly as well, because I think there's lessons there too, right? So, but as every day goes by, I'm having people chime in. Yesterday, somebody told me they hit 40 years. The day before, somebody was on year 11, and the day before that, somebody was on year 3, right? And these are all 3 different people from 3 different parts of the world that found my TikTok, that just felt compelled to leave me a little comment, to encourage me to keep going, and to let me know where they're at with their sobriety. And I'm like, my people,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been using substances one way or the other since I was 12 years old. Part of my story is when I was 12, I thought it was going to be cool to hang out with my big sister, and that was the first time that I got drunk. And then that night, one of her friends snuck into my bedroom and raped me. Right, so that's kind of part of my and at the time, I thought it was cool. I was like, I was the only one in my friends group that had sex already. And was with an older woman. And then I look back and I'm like, well, there went my innocence at 12 years old. And I've been kind of numbing, and then finding my mom. Right, so like, there's a whole series of things that when I look back on my life, I've never really gone into any of it or faced any of it intentionally sober, and I don't even know what that looks like. So my challenge to myself is to do the next 25 years of my life sober, to see what I can accomplish, what I can achieve, to see where I'll be then. I've drinking enough beer in the Army probably to last me a lifetime, and certainly since I've been out, man, that's my problem, man. Is I got no chill. I cannot pace myself. I'm not the have a beer guy. I'm let's have a beer, and then next thing you know, I've had 8. somewhere in the middle,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm the
really
same.
funny and charismatic, but then somewhere at the end, I'm not, and that's
Yeah.
something that I don't care for about myself. And it's not. I don't mean to put myself down. It's just the reality of who I am and my experiences, and I understand that I'll never be able to escape that. That it's always going to be a part of me, and that there is so much pain in there that at some point it comes out. There's no way to mask it, and if I don't have control of myself, it's sometimes it's not pretty. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not proud of that. It's just very honest that I needed to fucking grow up and to make some changes. And you know, and also the challenging part of it is like figuring out like who the hell I am without without the substances. Figuring like what is
Hmm.
my purpose? Why am I here? And then I've just in these 13 days, man, I've connected so many dots, like the pain and resistance equals suffering that we talked about. Like it's the same thing with sobriety. You know, that's the same exact feeling when you get a craving, when you get an urge to use. It's an uncomfortable space, and if you're not used to setting in that space, or you don't have that willpower to see it through or to understand that it will pass, you're going to cave to it. And then what happens? There's guilt and there's shame, and then that can be kind of a self-perpetuating cycle. So learning
Yep.
to, like, it's so funny that it all kind of started with cold plunging, but learning to set in an uncomfortable space has made me steadfast through my sobriety now, because anytime something comes up, I meditate and I breathe, I observe it, and then it's amazing. I'm not just saying this. It is amazing how quickly it goes away. Just as quick as it entered my head or my heart or my psyche, it's gone. But in the past, you know, that could turn into a whole internal battle of like, oh, you know, oh no, I need to stay sober. I don't really want to be sober. Why do I have to be sober? How come I can't just have a drink, or it's just one smoke, you know, just one bowl, or whatever kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't look at any of it like that now. So that's what, you know, I'm trying to
So
share that with folks too. You know,
yeah.
I think that's a big
So
key.
full disclosure, like December 9th is my quit day. Like I made the decision a while back. My
Awesome.
December 9th is my mom's birthday. She's not with us anymore, but my mom she overcame alcoholism when my daughter was born, actually. But I know the past couple of years, like she watched me kind of just my life kind of unfold before me in many different areas, and like I know that she worried about me. So even though she's not here, it's gonna be my birthday gift to her. I'm done. You know what I mean? I'm 46 years old. I've drank all that, like I've had just every drink out there. I don't need any more.
Right.
I've put myself through enough that yeah, it's time to just. That's one area of my life that it's just time to give it up forever. And
Good for you, man.
like I'm not gonna say I'm like I'm looking forward to it, because I track stuff like my sleep data and stuff, and I know on the days that I don't drink, I sleep better. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I know it affects so many areas of my life. And I'm like you, like I can go without drinking just fine. But if the minute I have one, if I buy a 6-pack, it's like I'm goal oriented. I have to finish all six. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm probably
No,
sure
I'm
that's
tracking.
probably the definition of alcoholism, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
No, but that's huge, man. And you know, whether it's whatever you have to do to get, you know, if you have a date in the future, like for me, the way it went down was I had been thinking it. I'd been thinking about it, and I'd been wanting to do it and wanting to do it, and then again, I just woke up one morning and it was like, I'm not putting this off anymore. Today is the fucking day. Today I quit, you know, and I think that's great, Ryan. I support you in that, brother. You know, and I think that you're a beautiful human, man, and you have a lot to offer the world, and you have no reason to run or numb anything out, man. You know, I think that it's time to face it and then to see what happens. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, bro.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you.
Hell yeah, man.
So, Matt, I'll tell you, that brings us, we're approaching our 2-hour mark here.
All right.
So before we close out, is there anything else that you want to tell the viewers or share in the last couple minutes before we close out here, buddy?
No, time flies when you're having fun. It certainly hasn't felt like 2 hours. Maybe to anybody listening, it has. But no, I just appreciate you guys. Both you and Sal, man, you guys are. I'm very lucky to be able to do this with you guys, and I'm very excited to see what the future has in store for the three of us. I think there might be something here. Thanks again for letting me come on here, and thanks for all the questions and to giving me the space to talk about stuff that's important to me, that's also important to you, man. Sharing space with like-minded individuals is huge. I hope that we're able to impact some lives, man. That's really what this is all about, right? If we can make an impact in a positive way, man, I'm here for it, so thank you.
So, thank you guys for all of you tuning in. Matt, we appreciate you being here. You've been a tremendous guest, and we hope to continue to have you on in different segments. And we want to plug your book whenever it comes, whenever it's ready to be published. We're going to take your Instagram. We're going to plug your Instagram on this video, as well as your YouTube and your TikTok.
Right. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Guys, make sure you guys go follow him and check him out. We thank you for tuning in. I think I cried a little bit. I don't know if you caught it on camera, Lou, but I think I saw Sal tearing up over there too.
I had to hold mine.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to drive the bus.
But what we have found is that like doing this is therapy. This is
It's 100% therapy.
We talk about things that we wouldn't otherwise have even bothered talking about. But go ahead, Sal.
Sure.
No, it's 100% therapy. Anytime we get together, we start realizing that we're more connected than we even believe that we could be with complete strangers. Matt, I just met you today, and I feel like I've already known you a lifetime. And I'm sure the future connections between us is just going to lead us down that path even further. I look forward to that. Just know that for every situation that you went into and got out of and you scathed clean, I've been through those same things as well. And I'm here to serve my God. And I'm his talisman, I'm his tool. He can use me in any which way he wants. And your purpose is there, brother. And I can't wait to find out how many lives you're going to affect in a positive manner. And I know for a fact, like, nobody escapes off like that without being purposefully placed here. So just keep on keeping on, and reach out to us, reach out to me, reach out to Ryan. If you need anything, I got you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Have a good night. And thank you again.
Love you too, man.
Sharing some space with me. Yeah.
And thanks again for everybody tuning in. And
we'll see you guys. Like, subscribe, hit the link below, share it to your friends, share it to your family, share it to your pastor, share it to your dog. I don't give a what, but make us blow up, guys. We love you.
That's what I tell folks.
We love you, fam.
Yeah. Absolutely.